It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Jen Cohen as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it's great to have you in studio today. We're going to sit down with the Coconino National Forest Deputy Fire Staff Officer Jeff Thum in studio. Welcome to studio, Jeff.
Thank you.
Your first visit, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, first visit. Okay. And the website, of course, is coconinonationalforest.us. Forest Service is going to become extremely high profile, I would say, over the next several months because, well, wildfire season's coming up just around the corner. I guess we really don't go out of wildfire season, but this year's wildfire season is definitely going to be here. It's not a matter of if, but when and where. Cool. Yeah, and then we'll just see how it goes. But we're much better off than we were last year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, last year you guys were coming down here and talking about fires, dry, this and that. So we've got the Forest Service in right now just to kind of talk about the current condition on the Coconino National Forest. And man, it's been a banner year. Winter season.
Oh yeah, we've had plenty of moisture. Started in October. Most of the month of October we had pretty good rain and tropical systems coming up, hurricanes from Mexico, and then there was a little bit of lull into December. It was fairly dry, but then yeah, starting in February it's been lots of rain, lots of snow, which is great to see.
So do you guys get out much at this time of year to go back in the forest and kind of see how things are going?
No, not really. We have some work we try and do, some of the pile burning we try and do this time of year. But generally it's planning and training and hiring for this upcoming fire season.
Okay, all right. So you were mentioning just before the show, and the National Weather Service said it too, that there is still a ton of snow out there in the forest.
Yeah, up around Flagstaff, the lower elevation, 7,000 feet, a lot of it is melted off. But as you progress up, Happy Jack, the Mogollon Rim, there's probably still 3 to 4 feet, and depends on the exposure. Northeast exposures, those hold a lot more snow for a longer period of time. But there's still a lot of snow to melt off over the next 2-3 weeks to month.
So this means a lot to the fuels that are on the ground, and we've learned a lot about the fuels over the past few years because the winters just have not been really great. Where this one, we're well up over, I think it was 115 inches or something like that. I think the Weather Service said that we got this last winter now. So the fuels on the ground, what does this do for them?
So all that moisture, absorbs into the soil and into the deadened down fuels out there, and they're saturated right now, really at the point where they probably can't take anymore. So a lot of that stuff is running off, but as opposed to last year, at this time, we're really wet at the higher elevations. Probably 2 or 3 weeks out till some of that stuff really starts to dry out. But then weather plays a key role. A little bit of system came through today, potentially next week another system. So as the fuels change, it's all weather dependent and moisture dependent.
Do you guys sit around at your meetings and think to yourself, boy, if we could get these storms to come like once a week, we'll be set up throughout,
Yeah, and it's happened a few years where once every couple of weeks it kind of sets us back. And even as we get into April, May, if we get a little shot of, 1/10 or inch of moisture, that gives us another week where we aren't scrambling to chase a fire, But as we go into the spring, wind is a big factor, and the grass will be coming up everywhere. And as that cures, grass, of course, and wind, as it's dry, moves fires pretty quick.
Yeah, but you guys have actually done over that, I want to say the last, 5 to 10 years, a lot of work in the forest, especially in and around the Flagstaff region.
Oh yeah, Flagstaff that's the largest population center on the Coconino, so we focus a lot of our work around that area, and between the mechanical thinning, prescribed fire, and fires managed for multiple objectives, there's been a ton of work around Flagstaff and as well throughout the whole forest.
But it was overdue. And this is all work. Now, is this all work that's been going on for the Forest Restoration Initiative, or is this just general maintenance stuff going on?
I think, that's kind of the focus. Now we call it 4FRI. We've always done the work. It's just, it's it's never ending. You know, you don't just mow your grass once; it comes back up, and it's a constant maintenance of the whole forest. And we focus around values at risk and Flagstaff and infrastructure, but the back 40 needs it as well. So, because on a bad day, fires can move miles. So it's a constant process, and it really never ends.
I want to say, though, over the last several years, it's definitely accelerated on the forest as far as what's being done.
Oh, yeah. Our as far as prescribed fires, our targets that we're supposed to accomplish every year, those have increased. 10 years ago, it might have been we were burning 5,000 to 10,000 acres on the forest, and our target for the Coconino National Forest this year is 38,000 acres of prescribed fire. October in the fall is generally our kind of big month, but we kind of got rained out last fall in October. So right now we're sitting at about 13,000 acres we've accomplished between prescribed fire and pile burning as we went into the winter. But we got a lot to try and pick up this spring. If the opportunities are there, we'll be doing a lot of burning this spring. And then this also affords us the opportunity to manage some of those natural ignitions with lightning. So if we, right place, right time, we may be looking to do some of that as well.
Okay, yeah, I know last monsoon season, it seemed like there was quite a bit of burning going on. If there was a window of opportunity, there was a time where I felt like there was fires burning, and not wildfires burning either, prescribed burns on not only the Prescott, the Coconino, and the Kaibab. Right up the line, you could just see smoke in the air. And Vic Morfin was in here last year from the Coconino National Forest. He says, it has to be done. We've got the opportunity. Weather's perfect. The humidity's high. We can just have this fire crawl along the ground and clean all that forest fuel up.
Yeah, I think all forests in the Southwest are really trying to ramp up, and we see more and more fires every year, and trying to reduce the intensity of those catastrophic events with prescribed fire and thinning and fuels treatments. You have to maintain the forest. If anyone has their acre lot, you don't just mow your grass once. You just don't pick up the limbs and stuff. It's every year you got to do it, and it's the same in the forest. It's just on a very large scale.
Very large scale, yeah. And we don't have all the people to be able to do something like that too. Yeah, so before the show, we were talking about just how, and you compare apples and oranges, that this year is so much different from last year. Last year, I know we started our public service announcements on the wildfire PSAs about the month of February. I would say one of the earliest years I've ever done that before, and now we've just now started them in the month of March. Because it's kind of hard to get people to even pay attention to something like that when you got snow and rain coming down. Anyways, it's inevitable, though, right? It's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Yeah, generally, as we move into April and May and June, we lack those precipitation events. It gets hotter, drier, and windier. So all this grass that's coming up will be, as we get into June, is going to start turning brown, and the instances of and opportunities for those fires to start increases.
I think it's funny how if we don't have a good winter, we've got all the grasses that grew from the last monsoon season, and they may have been pushed down a little bit, but there they are, they're still around. So those are the ones that are going to be the big burns. But this year we do have a little something different going on that we haven't experienced in the last few years, and people are going to forget about that. But Arizona plant life, it's like opportunity now, grow, seed, die. And it just seems to happen that fast. And then we get the spring is, National Weather Service said spring is going to be windy just like it always is windy. So that's sucking all that moisture out of the fuels. And then so by end of April, May and June are the hottest months and the driest months of the year. So yeah, I would imagine by then we'll have something going on. We got to take a break, okay? Deputy Fire Staff Officer Jeff Thumb from the Coconino National Forest is in studio today. CoconinoNationalForest.us is the website. Stick around. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
Do you feel like people are avoiding you? Don't be a dreaded spreader. Protect yourself and those around you from flu. Here's 3 things you should do. Get a flu vaccine each year. Take everyday preventive actions to stop the spread of germs, like covering coughs and sneezes and washing your hands, and stay home if you're sick. If you do get the flu, contact a healthcare professional right away and take flu antivirals if prescribed. Don't be a dreaded spreader. Take 3 steps to fight flu.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter, your religion or, what part of the world you're from, that just sort of all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
Yo siento que soy parte de esa bendición que ese niño recibió al irse a su casa ya sanado.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Mandalay Homes introduces the new Ion Series, a revolutionary new approach to home building innovation and energy management. Built on a foundation of industry-leading energy efficiency and sustainable building practices, the Ion Series home redefines how we use and manage renewable energy. Contact a Mandalay Home sales executive today to learn more, or visit one of our Ion Series communities throughout northern Arizona.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're sitting down with Coconino National Forest Deputy Fire Staff Officer Jeff Thumb. Website is coconinonationalforest.us. That's the one you want to keep track of, especially as we get into the warmer months, because you're going to want to go to the website to find out, and right now you need to go to the website to find out what forest roads are open, which ones are closed. Red Rock Ranger District, that changes on a regular basis. A lot of forest roads right now are closed on the Coconino National Forest, and we had that story that occurred, I want to say it was earlier this month. Coconino County Sheriff's Office didn't put it out very quickly, but they had a 5-day search. They found one man dead. They found the other gal with hypothermia. They had gone in a Forest Service road that was closed and got stuck. And
yeah, so
that's the thing.
As it warms up in the valley, and you think, geez, it'd be a great spring break. It'd be great to get up to the woods, but the forest roads are still really wet, and there's still a lot of snow up there. And getting stuck is not that difficult. Four-wheel drive sometimes just gets you 4 feet deeper and 4 feet further. It's really...
The soil in certain parts of the Coconino National Forest, I've driven over it, and it's like driving into clay. It just sticks to everything. And it doesn't matter what you've got, four-wheel drive or not. Your vehicle gets stuck really fast. So, again, we want to remind everybody, and we'll do a story on this again, it's just that Forest Service roads, the Coconino National Forest especially, a lot of them are closed right now. If you go back in there, you get stuck. And do you guys pull the vehicles out right away?
No,
they sit there, right?
Yeah, and that's a really probably expensive proposition. If you go behind a closed road, get stuck, getting your vehicle towed out is really costly because not a lot of companies will come up and do it because they don't want to get their vehicle stuck. And it could potentially be a violation, which you could get a fine for going behind a closed road and
it should be a violation,
resource damage.
Yeah, it should be a citation if you go around a closed gate or pull a gate down or barrier or whatever it is. You're not supposed to be back in there. So,
and a lot of places you're not going to get a cell signal, and it's still as these storms dry out. It's still getting cold at night. I think probably last week it was 10 degrees overnight, or maybe earlier this week. So it's still cold at night, and being exposed and not having the adequate stuff, you could be in trouble.
Yeah. Now Jeff brought something up, really good point during the break. 2010 was the big winter up in the Flagstaff area. I remember roofs were caving in, and it was just a phenomenal amount of snow that came down. But it was also the same year as the Schultz fire up there on the San Francisco Peaks, so right over the top of the Donny Park area. So that tells us what?
Yeah, well, even with these great winter conditions and all the moisture we have, we're going to get into June, and there's going to be days when the potential for a fire in the wrong place at the wrong time could still be very catastrophic. So even as folks come up to recreate, always be cautious of fire. and always be cognizant of what you do with fire in your campfires or vehicles or whatever. You know, there's always going to be those red flag days where the wind's blowing 30, 40 miles an hour, and we got single-digit RHs. And if something starts in the wrong place, it could rapidly turn into something like the Schultz fire.
It's going to be pins and needles when those days happen too, those red flag days, because I'll make a mention of that because, of course, Weather Service puts that right at the top of the forecast, a red flag warning throughout the day today. But yeah, that's going to be pins and needles when that happens. We have had a fire. Central Arizona Fire actually responded to a brush fire off the side of the highway that they think was caused by a dragging chain or something dragged metal or somebody flicked a cigarette out the window or what it may be. But they did have a small brush fire. So that's not a possibility. It's definitely a possibility no matter what. So are we hiring and are we getting resources in, the helicopters and stuff like that, or is everyone kind of back a little bit and saying, well, we've got some time?
So a lot of, the southern part of Arizona, the southern part of New Mexico, they kind of start the season for the Southwest here. So we have some air tankers available in New Mexico, and some helicopters that have started around the Coronado. And they've had a couple fires over the last few weeks. But the northern forest, we're in the hiring process. Hope to have most of our folks on mid part of April, and then all the crews and engines and equipment will be ramped up and ready to go. Hopefully into May as our fire season kicks off. But a lot of hiring going on right now, and then we bring them on for that 2-week period where we do the critical training and get everybody ready to go for fire season.
Holy cow, fire season. It's amazing, right? It's literally just around the corner now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it today when it's raining, but it doesn't take long once the winds start blowing and the sun comes out to dry things out.
Yeah. Okay. So how long does that go on for, the hiring process?
So it kind of depends. We kind of do a permanent fire hire where we hire our permanent employees on the engines and the hotshot crews, and then we do seasonal fire hire. We still have a large workforce that is seasonal, and it kind of ongoing throughout the whole winter. And can be a challenging process. We try to do it nationwide as a group because this year, so it's still ongoing, and 3 to 5 weeks of time committed to hiring folks and going through applications and working. Our main hiring center is in Albuquerque, so we work with a lot of those folks there. There's qualifications folks need, and background checks and all those things. Take time to get people hired, and but hopefully here into April we'll have everybody on board and ready to go.
Okay. So you mentioned that southern Arizona, you guys really watch the Coronado and the southern forest to see what's going on down there. And you said they've had a couple fires already.
Yes.
So what does that do for us up here when you see that starting to happen down there? Because I pay attention to that too on the Associated Press. I'll watch for that too. And it doesn't matter where the wildfire is burning in the state. I mean, if it's closer to our broadcast area, of course, we have better coverage of that. But I do mention, okay, maybe down southern Arizona near the New Mexico border, but it doesn't matter. It's still keeping people's heads.
Oh yeah, they obviously start much earlier than us, but it gets us kind of in tune with what we're doing. And then as our resources become available, we send folks down there to help too. So we'll send some, I think, we haven't sent any from the Coconino yet, but as we get folks ready and they have fires, we'll be sending folks down there to assist until our fire season really begins and we bring those guys back up.
Yeah, we could just watch that kind of travel up the entire West Coast, can't we?
Yeah, I mean, that's our whole workforce is kind of travelers throughout the fire season. We follow the fire season, starting here in the Southwest and then Great Basin, Northern Rockies, and end up in California a lot of years.
Interesting to see how that kind of grows throughout the year and how it changes from here to traveling way up there. And you can just kind of watch that wildfire season just kind of move up the West Coast, and then winter hits and kind of dies off, and then we just gear up to do it again. We've been through it so many times. Let's take our second break. Deputy Fire Staff Officer Jeff Thumb from the Coconino National Forest is in studio today. The website is coconinonationalforest.us. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
What does it look like when a life is truly changed?
I feel a sense of accomplishment because I built a house. This house has brought us financial independence.
It's a great place to raise a family.
Strength, fuerza. When I look back where we've come from to where we are today, it makes my heart very happy.
Potential. Potencia.
For me, this house means
all of us together. Sorry. Together.
Security.
Security.
Every family dreams to have their own house. This house changed our lives.
Habitat for Humanity is at work in your community and around the world. Through shelter, we empower.
We develop quality citizens who keep our core, our country, and our communities side by side on the winning side. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Welcome back to Countywide. Just a few minutes left in the program. Partial government shutdown occurred in the month of February. Maybe it was late January, early February. Did that have an impact on what you guys, because over the last year, I've just noticed that there's been a lot of prescribed burning. There's been a lot of opportunity for that. The pile burns, the machines and everything else out there working on the forest. Did you guys get set back at all?
As far probably a little, not substantially, I think. We certainly missed some windows on the Coconino, as well as probably a lot of the forest and around northern areas to take advantage of those weathers and snow on the ground. But also the impact to a lot of our training. We do a lot of national training and big training events, and the planning and coordination to get some of those, our engine academy for the Southwest region, we had to cancel because of there just wasn't time to get all the logistics together, and we didn't know how long. It was the unknown of how long it was going to last for us as well. Some of our larger classes, we do a lot of national classes in Tucson during the spring because everywhere else is kind of under snow or the weather isn't there. So there was a lot of those trainings that had to be canceled as well and or delayed just because of the planning, logistics, hotels, facilities. So there was a lot of those big trainings that had to be delayed and canceled, which impacts, training opportunities, people doing other positions on fire. So that was probably the biggest thing. As far as prescribed burning, yeah, we missed some opportunity, but we kind of picked it up in February as soon as we were able to come back on.
Do we have burning and stuff planned between now and when it starts to really heat up?
Oh yeah, I think all districts on the Coconino have some planned. We're shooting for probably like 25,000 acres for what's remaining of the year, and hopefully most of that will happen in the spring. September is always a challenge with fire seasons throughout the West and personnel, but probably between Flagstaff and the Mogollon Rim district of the Coconino is about 25,000 acres we're looking to implement this spring if conditions are there.
Okay, all right. So if we get some weather breaks, but not too bad a break, we have high humidities and stuff like that, then you guys can get out there and do that. But if the snow's on the ground, you're not going to be doing anything out there.
Yeah,
right?
For my perspective, I would say probably latter part of April into May is when we'll probably be doing some of those broad scale, larger burns in the pine type. Some of the stuff down here, Verde Valley, the Red Rock District, they might be starting to do some in the next couple weeks or as it dries out in some of the grass and brush fuels. But the pine, we're probably up in the pine country, we're probably a month out.
Any particular area that you could talk about that is key to be hit as soon as possible and taken care of?
So as far as the southern half of the forest, it's the Cragen Project, C.C. Cragen or Blue Ridge Reservoir.
Okay, I know you guys have been over there a long time. Okay.
Yeah, so that's probably the main focus for that piece. The Flagstaff district has it kind of scattered all over the district. One of the projects they might be implementing this spring is the Mint area, which is just south of Mormon Lake. Okay. So they may be doing quite a few acres in and around south of Mormon Lake this year. And then the other ones is kind of scattered, some north of the peaks and some kind of centrally south of Flagstaff.
Communities and watersheds seems to be what everyone's been really focused on lately, just to make sure those are all nice and cleaned up, and then I guess we can branch off and go, take care of some of the other areas. Jeff, we're out of time.
Well, I sure appreciate the opportunity.
And I'm sure we will have you guys back in as things start to heat up, just to remind everybody that wildfire season has finally arrived, and it's going to be, but thank God this year it's been pushed back, and that's fantastic. So Deputy Fire Staff Officer Jeff Thum was our guest today, Coconino National Forest.us. As always, thank you so much for watching, listening, and we will talk to you again next time.